It's February, and you know what that means. That Groundhog's Day happened. I guess that's not really relevant to this. It's February updates. Our first announcement, and this is a really big one, is that do you remember how we hit our first stretch goals and unlocked that Palace Guard card? Well, there were 3 other cards that were the next up on that stretch goal list. And what we decided to do, which was our plan from the very beginning, we tricked you guys. We tricked you. We are going to include all 4 of those cards in our core sets. So not only will you be getting a Palace Guard, you will be getting the Echo Captor. You will also be getting Back Alley Butcher, and you will be getting Porridge Thief. We will preview each of these cards over the next week or so. Until then, though, I will preview right now for you Echo Captor, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. This right here, that's Echo Captor. Well, what is Echo Captor? Echo Captor is a rank 3 Kraken unit that has 3 blue embers, 4,000 power, 2 skulls, and it has the ability Battle Winner. Search your opponent's deck for a copy of the defeated unit and sideline that unit. Actually, it's not Battle Winner, it's defeats unit, but it's the same thing. That means that when this card defeats another unit, even if it ties, even if it dies in the process, you get to go through your opponent's deck, search for a copy of that card, and pull it out and throw it into their sideline. This is Kraken doing its deck thing where it's manipulating decks. This is a fun little, it's a bit of mill mixed with some potential wolf strategy. But it's a really great card if you are playing against an opponent who has a bunch of annoying smaller units that you don't like and that you would like to remove those threats earlier than later. You can go through their deck and pull them out of their deck as you defeat them, which is really, really cool. So that's Echo Captor, really exciting. This one, just like all the other ones, you will receive 5 copies of. So 5 copies of the Palace Guard, 5 copies of Echo Captor, 5 copies of Back Alley Butcher, 5 copies of Porridge Thief. We will cover the other 2 in a bit. I've already dropped some puzzle pieces for the Back Alley Butcher in the Discord for anyone that's interested. And we have also, I will do the same with Porridge Thief, which is pretty fun. We might add a little bit of something at the end of this video. We'll see. Anyway, that's Echo Captor, really cool card. You all are going to get that if you backed us on Kickstarter. So what have we been doing this month? What have we... Learning how to talk. That's one of the things that I've been working on this month. I can't even say month. Anyway, one of the things that we've been doing this month is we've been working on our taxes, which is hilarious because that is not at all relevant to you in any way. Our taxes, it's not your problem. We're not going to go into it, but we will say that given the fact that Kwame and myself both work full-time, or we need to work, it's been a real strain because we have to get our taxes put together. It's not exactly tax season yet, but it's coming around the bend. It is February. A lot of these things we want to get our ducks in order so that when we move forward, we're not, caught with our pants down. And it does require a lot of extra outside behind the scenes annoying collation of a lot of receipts and other things. It's not that big of a deal. If we had a staff of people, it wouldn't even be worth mentioning, but because we don't, and it's just the 2 of us, it takes a lot more time than we would like for it to take. So it's kind of eaten into a lot of other areas of our progress. However, the good news is that we've pretty much got that handled, and we can move on to the next thing. One of my biggest tasks this month, or last month, the month of January, was getting together all of our files and putting them all into a nice, neat little package to send to a manufacturer so that manufacturer can make a PPC for us. What is a PPC? A PPC is a pre-production copy. This is basically the version of the game that you all will receive. It will get shipped to us. We'll have one copy of it. We'll open it up. We're going to look it over. We're going to examine all the elements, and we're going to figure out what is working, what isn't working. One of the big things that we have to figure out is how our separators in the box are going to work. We already know how it will work in theory, but there is a lot of interesting spacing issues that we have to contend with. Materials specifically, there's a lot of options available to us, and we have to kind of figure out how that's going to work once we get it. We'll know pretty much immediately once we get the pre-production copy in our hands what's working, what's not, and we'll know exactly which direction we need to go after that. Getting the files prepped for the pre-production copy was a colossal task. It sounds silly, but going through every single file for Fable's End and every single visual piece of information and either converting it to CMYK, resizing it, making sure the bleeds were correct, making sure all the information was correct, going through and labeling all the cards individually with our new card ID system, and then understanding how that system will change in the future, like establishing that whole thing. We have that now, and that's pretty much set in stone. We've got it figured out. All of the cards are now labeled with that come in the core set. So when you receive your core set, every card will have a card ID, and that card ID will be used to either identify where that card belongs, in what set, and it will also be able to, you can use it for sorting purposes, you can use it for your collection. We have every kingdom sorted in a certain designation of the total number of cards. So like cards labeled 1 through 13, I think, or 1 through 12 are 1 through 12 are one kingdom, and then 13 through 24 is another kingdom, and 25 through 36 is the next kingdom, and so on. And hopefully that will enable people to sort through their decks. If they say they made alliance decks and they have their cards mixed up, they can easily reference those numbers to pull out those cards. I mean, there are other ways you can do that too. It's not like, it's not rocket science to separate cards, but the card ID system is really important. It's going to be a really integral piece of the Fable's End puzzle moving forward. We also have our punch-out counters figured out and how we want to make those fit into the box, what sizes they are. We will get those materials back and decide whether or not we like the thickness of the chipboard, whether or not we think there needs to be something added. We're going to go through all that stuff when we get it back. The rule book, which is another section, we're going to talk about that in a minute. What else? We've added some extra cards to the core set that are reference cards. So one of those reference cards is a turn sequence card that has each of the 3 different types of attacks on the back. We have a card that references all of the keyword abilities, and on the back it has all the trigger abilities that are relevant to the core set. We will add another 4 cards that describe each of the 4 kingdoms with some, general basic strategies of how to play those kingdoms on the back. All those reference cards are going to be included in the core set. The kingdom ones haven't been made yet, but they will be made, and they will be included in that. There were some suggestions of that in Discord, which I think was a really smart idea, and we decided that we were totally going to do it. It's just more cards. It's not a huge price differential from what we were quoted before. We have also set aside, from the core set, we also have this other half of our pre-production copy, which is all the extra stuff. So there are 4 big things that are extra. One is the neoprene game mats. That is pretty much ready to go. We just need to get it back and make sure that the colors are right or whatever. The sizing is pretty much figured out. The graphics are pretty much figured out. That's almost, I would say that's pretty done. The next thing would be our the metal coins that will be part of that was one of our stretch goals. It was our first one that we added late. We have those figured out. Those, for the most part, have been sized and designed. We just have to get a copy to see how they look and feel. We may change some things around once we get them, and we will show you once we get the pre-production copy what those metal coins are going to look like. And hopefully, I'm really excited about them. I think they're going to look really amazing. I think that they're going to look amazing and they're going to feel amazing to play with. Especially with the neoprene mats. The metal coins on the neoprene mats feel really nice because you get that nice clinking sound, but you're also not like damaging your table because of the neoprene mat. So they're a nice fit for each other. The next thing that we have are the sleeves, which are, we're not sure exactly what those are going to look like until we get them, but we have specific instructions for them. We basically want something that's like dragon sleeve quality or higher. And we will get those back and we'll make some decisions about how we want to move forward with those sleeves. But as for now, there's a standard back on those sleeves. We will revisit the sleeve conversation later. The last thing and the most important thing in my mind is the 8-card randomized foil pack. Now, what we've done with this particular file is we've created several different foil patterns, and we're going to have them foil these cards and send them back to us, and we're going to review them, and we're going to find the ones that we like the best, and we're going to move forward with those. They will be in a little like booster pack, and we're going to open up that booster pack. We'll probably do a live opening of that booster pack to kind of go through how we want our foiling to look and the experience of that. That includes the full art foiled Crimson Avenger that everyone's going to get. That's in that foil pack, so we'll actually have an example of that to show everybody, which is going to be really, really cool. That's going to be really exciting. So all this to say, this required a monumental amount of work to just get all this data, all these files together, everything set in its right place, all the file formatting correct, the sizing correct. And even when we reached out, they reached back with questions, and I was like, oh yeah, there's all this other stuff too. So it is a process that's often back and forth. It takes a long time. It isn't as easy as it sounds. It's not like you're just dropping all of your files into a folder. You have to go through each one individually to make sure everything's correct, and then change anything that needs to be changed. All the cards reflect the most current errata that we've talked about. There are a handful of things that have changed since January in terms of the way certain cards are written. I'm not too worried about those right now because that could get one more round of errata before we go to print anyway. And we will do a comprehensive review of all the cards. We'll do like a full set review before we go to the manufacturer. And then I think we'll do one more pass, make sure that all the errata is correct, and then we will send it off to the manufacturer. That is the biggest thing that happened this past month. And it doesn't seem like it's a lot, but it's a really monumental task. And it's super exciting because it is the thing that is going to get the game into your hands sooner. So yeah, pretty exciting. Fable's End online. Okay, this one, man, this is going to be great. So we are, what is the progress of that? We don't have screen grabs to send right now because we still want to polish it more before we reveal anything. However, the game is fully playable. The Kraken deck and the Wolf deck are loaded up into the engine, and they are, for the most part, functioning the way they're supposed to function. I think our programs have nailed most of the bugs that we were experiencing the past month. And now we also have a Mac build and a PC build. So if you have a Mac, you can play this as well. We're getting Scorpion and Raven input into the engine, and as soon as those are available, we'll start testing those as well. The game is on its way to our alpha testing. We still have to figure out some of the server stuff. We are currently just hosting between players, so Steam is not hosting us. And once we get our server set up, then Steam will host us, and then we'll have like a queue system for people who want to get into the game. I would say that the gameplay itself is functioning the way it's supposed to. There's a bunch of UI stuff we're still working out because, a surprise to nobody, UI stuff is really complicated. Not because it's hard to implement, because it's hard to know what the best choices are. And when you have certain preferences that people have, you have to make decisions about, okay, well, do we put this thing here at this part of the screen? Do we put it here? Do we make sure, how do we make room for our card inspector? How do we make room for this? Where does the turn, the steps in the turn, where does that appear and what does it look like? And there's a lot of decisions to be made on that front. And we have been very focused on just the mechanics and the code. So we're just now starting to get to the like real UI stuff. And it will get there and it will look great. It's not quite there yet, but it is playable and it does run pretty smoothly. It's still very bare bones. It's a very bare bones version of Fable's End, but the actual gameplay is just like it is in real life. And that's pretty cool because a lot of it's automated. Like it tracks all the things for you. And, there are things like card draw that's automatic and accounts for shield differential. So it's very, very cool. It's a very smooth experience currently, and it will only get better. And as we make more progress on that front, we'll keep you all updated when we're ready to kind of reveal some of the screen grabs and actual gameplay footage. So I would be really excited about this. It is going to be very cool. It's a thing that's going to happen regardless of where Fable's End goes in the next 6 months. So we did a comprehensive, not overhaul, but a very comprehensive edit of the rulebook. One of our Discord members, Rice Heist, was kind enough to do a really thorough proofread of the rulebook and sent me a huge document that had, every instance of an inconsistency or every instance of a missing period or, a parenthetical that needed to be italicized or not italicized. It was very thorough. It took me a while to get to it, but I did do a full edit of the rulebook. Went through, word by word, page by page. The rulebook has now updated graphics. It actually has an extra page or two to account for some things that are going to be included in the core set that were not available in the print and play. For instance, the damage coins that are going to be in the core set that come included in the punch boards. These are standard. If you back this on Kickstarter, you're going to get metal versions of these. They need a little bit of explanation. Is like, here's how they work. Here's what represents 0. Here's what represents this number. There are, I'm gonna go into full detail about the counters and how we arrived at what we arrived at for the core set in a separate video that I will release later this month. And I wanted to do, I might wait on that video until we actually have the pre-production copy so that we can review all of the different versions of the counters and why we chose what we chose. I think this rulebook is going to be really nice. I think it will solve a lot of the misconceptions or questions that people had in the Discord. So that's a good thing. That being said, this is not going to be the final version of the rulebook because the rulebook will get some more errata probably before we go to manufacture. I love it when people proofread this. It helps us make the game better and more understandable. So if you happen to have time and you want to look over the rulebook and you want to read it and proofread it, please, by all means, send me, you can send me a message in Discord. You can just post it in the new rulebook channel in our Discord and just put all of your questions in here and be like, this is worded strangely. I think we've addressed most of it, but in case there are people who are confused at certain points or something's not clear or there is a way to make it more clear, I'm more than happy to listen to that. And there are going to be things that are not in the rulebook currently that will be in the final version of the rulebook. We're going to have a whole extensive section on the lore of Fable's End, particularly the world building. We're just focused on getting the game made and getting the rules down so that this part of the thing, it's like the most important aspect of the game, is functional and is clear. Then we can get into all of the frosting. So what's up with pre-orders? Unfortunately, because of all the stuff that we have to do with our taxes and with the pre-production file prep taking so long, and because both Kwame and I have to work, we're delaying our pre-order process. We wanted to get it done by the end of January, but it's going to probably be more likely the end of February. Regardless of where it lands in the process, we will have pre-orders before the game is available. It's just going to happen. It just hasn't happened yet, and a lot of it's just time. We just don't have the time, and we don't have the money to pay people to do the things that we inevitably have to do and have to get done first. The PPC and the tax stuff is just the most important stuff, so we had to get that done first. And now that that's like wrapping up, we can start getting to the next step, which is like setting up our website for pre-orders and figuring that stuff out. I don't believe that will be the most complicated thing in the world, but again, we're a two-man team, and most of the money that we have to allocate for the order, the shipping and the manufacturing of the actual game. So we don't have like all this extra capital to hire people or to outsource stuff to. And it makes the process go much slower for us, unfortunately. And it's frustrating because we know that there are other games in the industry that are moving along like that. And it's like, well, they have teams, they have huge budgets. If they have $100,000 that they raised from Kickstarter, they're able to do these things because they're able to outsource all this stuff. We can't. And we will do our best to try to be as transparent as possible about this process so that you all aren't in the dark. Again, I would love for people to be on the Discord. It's really, really helpful for me when people come and interact, and if they have questions about the game or they want to play games, because we have the TTS mod available. We also have we have a channel on Discord for people to organize games. And come participate, come be a part of it. That being said, for pre-orders, we will have pre-orders up. We will do it. It's just being delayed right now because we're a two-man team and we can only do so much. And it breaks my heart because what I want to do is I want to deliver on these promises, and it's just literally not possible sometimes to deliver them when we want them to hit. We want to hit specific, scheduled milestones, and it's really difficult when you have two people and both work full time and we don't live in the same neighborhood. So we're kind of far away from each other, and it's really hard for us to coordinate meetings. We'll get on Discord and do like phone calls, but it's not the same when we're not in person. So anyway, that's that's not great news. Sorry. We want it to be, we want everything to run perfectly well. And that's not how it runs when you have two people. And once the money starts flowing into Fable's End, he and I will be able to be more, on time with everything. I think that's a symptom of like the first part of this. And then once we get all of the other things, all of our other ducks in a row, all of those other things are going to be easier to hit because the groundwork and the foundation is already set. Another reason why these things are not moving the way that we want them to is because we're focused on trying to set up our release schedule and trying to set up all the cards that we want to release and how we want the stories to unfold for those sets. And that requires a lot of planning. So there's a lot a lot of work being done behind the scenes to set that up. It's not just like, oh yeah, we have this here. Like, we're going to release our first set. What's our first expansion? We don't know. It's like we have 8 expansions planned. And when I say planned, I mean like we know exactly what they're going to be. And we have to, you know, we're going to have to move them around a little bit because the model has changed slightly. But I'm so excited to show you all what those are going to be, because it's going to fundamentally, it's like taking you on a journey through the game, and you will experience them, you know, as they happen. They're going to be really, really cool. I can't talk about them. I will talk about them. We will do preview. I'm like chomping at the bit to get to preview season for us, because I know once we start previewing stuff, people's investment in the game will only increase. So anyway. Probably the biggest update for the future of the structure of the release model for the game and for the world building and lore of the game is something that Kwame and I really, you know, put our noses to the grindstone and worked out in multiple meetings over a series of years, and we finally found the right model for us. I'm not going to go into too much detail here because I actually want to do an entire, it's worthy of its own video, so I'm going to do a video about it. But the premise is that originally we were going to release a new kingdom for every genre of storytelling that we wanted to explore. And that proved to be problematic for a lot of reasons. And I was pretty convinced that we could move around those problems, because it gave me a lot of freedom creatively to just kind of do whatever I wanted, and it wasn't bound by any rules of a kingdom's mechanics or theme. So we are not going to do that model per se, but we're going to do something that's similar to that. And I will get into it later, but that was a big accomplishment this month, was like, what does the game look like 5 years from now? And how do all of the things that we have planned, you know, the 10 different stories that we want to tell for the expansions, how does that all fit into that model? And that was the thing that we finally nailed it, and we got it right. The other thing that we're going to do, there's another like aspect to that we're going to get to, that I will cover in the like kingdom release model video that I'm going to do next. And this one's even cooler in my opinion, because what it does is it creates a new way for players to build decks, or it will not a way for them to build decks, but it gives them guidance on how to build decks, and it will help to create archetypes for the game in a way that's not like archetypes weren't available to us before, but it's going to like very clear archetypes for the game. And I think most people, when you hear about it, when you find out about it, you'll be like, oh yeah, exactly. That's totally right. So that's pretty big. That's pretty exciting. And that will be in another video. And then I'm also going to do a video about components that we'll talk about later. But that's pretty much it for February. We're going to get to some other stuff. If you have questions about what we're doing, what? Comments. Join us on Discord. Come in the Discord. Be a part of the Discord. It's really fun. There's a lot of stuff. We talk about a lot of stuff on there. You can be a part of the process. Someone just rang the doorbell, because, of course. All right, bye.